The time is just gone 8:37 as we continue with this morning's edition of News and Views, and we're now taking a look at the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi yesterday delivering the State of the Province address, and to get analysis and to unpack what the Premier had to say, we're going across to the to political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe. Professor Sipho, good morning to you, sir, and welcome to the show. I think your mic is muted, Prof. If you could unmute, please. Yes, the mic is still muted, Prof.
Oh, yes. I can see that. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Morning to you, and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me.
Yes, Prof, we've seen once again the Premier saying so much with regard to the State of the Province address, which he delivered, and he says he has delivered on his previous promises, lifestyle audits on government heads. At the same time, he spoke about a number of achievements. He spoke about pledging ending load shedding, combating crime, creating jobs, fighting corruption. All of this at the end of the day, but it is clear that is the seventh administration. The ball game has actually changed on a national level with the government of national unity, and provincially as well. We see somewhat this. Ball game changer as well. Just your thoughts, just overall, first, initially, your thoughts on Panyaza Lesufi and this State of the Province address.
Well, I think the performance of government is always going to be decided by the voters. It doesn't matter what the politicians say about what they had promised and delivered. The real test is whether people are going to find your statement believable. And the voting is probably the best way in which we can make that assessment. And the province of Gauteng is also one of those provinces where the ANC was punished. It went from where it was almost an outright majority to where it was an outright majority to where now it has to form a minority government. So that says something. And the second thing about the claims that he says he has achieved, some of them have more to do with what happens at the national level. For instance, the ending of the load shedding. It is not something that he can say he has done. It will be a question of what ESCOM and the leadership at ESCOM and the leadership at the national government has actually done to ensure that these are addressed. But nonetheless, it is also true that of all the premiers of the ANC, Panyaza Lesufi appeared to be the one who is in touch with some of the issues that the voters seem to be concerned about. So it could be that he has become a victim of national politics, where because of the behavior and the non-delivery at the national level, the ANC, wherever it is, gets punished for sins that are the sins of the leadership at the national level.
Yes, and clearly with the dynamics that are changing, with obviously the ANC not having the outright majority, Panyaza Lesufi spoke about, under his leadership, the rebuilding of the Gauteng province requiring a new strategy. Now, strategically, I'm not too certain at this point in time, and perhaps will be guided by you in terms of what the strategy or what would the strategy actually entail to obviously create this confidence, because Gauteng, one of the most important provinces in the country, contributing largely to the GDP of the country, to the national economy as a whole, and many are saying if Gauteng fails, the country fails.
Yeah, well, I think what, to his credit, he didn't talk so much about the broader strategy, other than to say these are the concerns that the people of Gauteng are faced with, and that these are the projects that I'm going to be implementing in the next coming 5 years, which will address that. For instance, he talks about a crime. that the government or his government should not be soft on crime. And because without, for as long as you have this level of criminality, they are going to scare those people who may want to invest in the province. So he says that I know that I've got to deal with crime. Then the second thing that he said is that I also know that unemployment is a big problem. So what I'm going to do is to embark on infrastructure build, a very expanded infrastructure build that will look at a number of areas. One is the issue of ICT, that investing in ICT would mean that I'm going to create and expand access to Wi-Fi for the people of the province. And secondly, he talked about expanding the rail, the Gauteng train, from only from where it is, with the focus only being towards Pretoria, to thinking about areas like Soweto. So these are the plans that he had made in the past. But he says there is money to do that. He has also talked about the inter-provincial relationship. That if you look at Limpopo and Gauteng, there is a large movement of people almost every week between the two provinces. And the idea of a speed train between the two has been something that he has talked about. And now he says they're now almost done with the finishing in looking at what is possible. And he'll soon be probably announcing how far that and how far that he has gone. But that will also unlock job opportunities. He has also spoken about the importance of reskilling, to say there are many people who are in the system who are at the moment unemployed and probably unemployable. And those people cannot just be left. What they need to do is to look at unlocking the monies that are there from the National Skills Fund and also from the Unemployment Insurance Fund. So he has come up with a number of projects. But what I also found interesting is for him to talk about the need to have the provinces working together, where they can almost get into some mutual beneficial relationship. And he talks about Mpumalanga, Gauteng, and KZN. That if you look at a town like Harrismith, that becomes a connecting space, and that it may be a good idea to start looking at whether that could not be the hub of transport and logistics. So you see somebody who says, I simply want to come up with things that are measurable. And the last point that he also made is the issue of delivery, that he would like the promises of those deliverers to be made public, and he'll be signing uh, agreements, delivery agreements, and with his own MECs. And from time to time, he'll be doing routine checks to check how far they've gone with the promise that they've made. So I do think that you see somebody who's excited, who's hands on, and who says, let's put the shoulder to the wheel. So it is a it is good when you have a leader who gives us something that says we can easily mark this, rather than broad statements that are meaningless.
Yes, Prof. Prof, obviously there is no doubt with regard to Panyaza Lesufi and his credentials, his leadership qualities, and his ability to lead the province as a premier of Gauteng. But we've heard this argument in the past as well, looking at a country like South Africa, whether firstly there has really been a need for that third tier of government. You've got national, you've got provincial, and you've got local as well. And what purpose would a provincial government really serve? But considering where we are at this point in time, when one looks at the cities in Gauteng, and these cities, they have been hijacked by criminals. You look at the state of Johannesburg and many of the other cities was in Gauteng as well. And that actually leaves much to be desired as well. Hijacked buildings, criminals that have basically taken over the cities. And then on the other side, you've got municipalities that are dysfunctional as well. Now, all of that put together and having a strong personality with his credentials, with his capacity to lead, with his ability to lead the province at this point in time. Clearly, it's going to be a tall order, it's going to be a tough ask, but it is going to have to take somebody with nerves of steel to actually run this province over the next few years.
Well, no, there's no doubt about it. And this is why the voter says we do like what you say, but we're not going, and we've had that before. We've had it also from the previous presidents of the ANC, that they will deal with the scourge of crime. They have always talked about the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality, and the things have become worse. So we are not going to judge you by what you say. We're going to judge you what you deliver on the ground. So that's why I say the issue of that you can probably talk about confidently to say, I said I'm going to get e-tolls out of the way, and despite the noise coming from the center, he continued to push for that agenda. And now he can say the e-tolls are gone. Whether that the national gave in because of election is something else, but he already sits with the burden of having to repay that loan. So that is one part. Then the second part is that he has actually shown himself to be a man of a steely resolve. If you think about the pressure that was coming from the national with regard to the GNU, he actually was saying you don't have to work with a party like the DA that will demand much more than it is entitled to. But the national was very clear that they would like to make sure that the arrangement that were made at the national level percolates on towards the province. So politically, whether people were not sure whether he's going to survive that, and he seems to be doing quite well at the political level. And what he needs to do is really to say, yes, these projects that are put, you need to make sure that from the get-go, within put timelines that within 100 days, this is what I expect. Within a year, this is what I expect. And make sure that you communicate that, because the people of this country are not unaware of the major challenges, but they do not want to be taken for granted. For too long, the ANC has always taken for granted to, and has always claimed almost like it has a monopoly over the black vote. The last election has sent a very clear message that you do not have that. And one hopes that that is sufficient wake-up call for the ANC to do better than just talk.
Well, Prof, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning right here on Solar Media. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us once again. So we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Professor Sipho Seepe joining us this morning, political analyst against the address, the State of the Province address by Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. We're going to go for a break. We come back. It's time for Juma Nasiha.